Okay, good morning. John Wertz here. It is December 17th at 12:30 p.m. We're here to interview Judge Keough for he's the incumbent for that Montgomery County judge position. With me is Bob Bagley, Larry Rogers, Kenneth Ernest, Luis Pedraza, and Lana Horde. Good morning and welcome, or
Good
good
morning.
afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Good
Yeah,
afternoon. Thank you for having me. Thank you for adjusting your schedule
yes, sir.
to what I'm doing and for the opportunity to just come here and to chat about where we're at, where we're headed, and why I feel like I need to be reelected into this position.
All right. Well,
I
feel
think,
free to take up to 5 minutes,
yeah,
and the floor is yours.
but we have, in having come here today, I'm genuinely thankful that I can do this again with you all. I think it's important that what you're doing and how you guys so thoroughly vet people is pretty remarkable. And I have to tell you, I would have to applaud your efforts because you guys are unsung heroes. And people just don't know. I talk to people all the time. They just don't know what goes on in local government or county government. They don't know how to vote. They don't know who they should vote for. And they just go by name or something else. I don't know. But I believe that I have, as I move forward into the next session, or the next 4-year term, that we have done some very significant things as your county judge that I'm just very proud of. You know, when I first stepped into this position, I had a contract with Montgomery County, all of those things of which I have fulfilled. And whether that was reducing my pay 12% and keeping it where it was, where it would be, reducing and ridding ourselves of paid off roads of tolls, putting in an ethics policy that we have implemented that actually has teeth, where I had the opportunity, we rewrote it, our current ethics policy, took it to the state of Texas. We stumped for it there and they allowed us to do it. And we move forward. Now it is in place and has been in place. The issue of taxes and taxation. I said that when I would come to work and would come to work here, that I would reduce taxes from the perspective of, as appraisals went up, I would reduce taxes in a commensurate way, reduce the rate so that the people wouldn't be getting pounded constantly in their taxes. And we were able to do that in the first 4 budget cycles. We did the no new revenue rate, of which I was told at that time, a previous county judge contacted me the first time and said, it's never been done in the history of the county. So we've had a number of those kinds of firsts. We were at the de minimis rate 2 years ago, and this time just a little bit below the de minimis rate. We could have gotten to the no new revenue rate if we didn't have to deal with pay parity with our law enforcement. But I have to tell you, I have a strong commitment to still changing how we do our taxation. In fact, the matter is, rate is not the issue. I've cried and pleaded with the legislature about this. It's about the appraisal reform, of which they refuse to do. That being said, of which I'd like to see something stronger or strong in our Republican Party platform that have to do with appraisal reform that must take place if we're going to move forward and people are going to take some benefit and have benefit with our taxation. Which I think we can continue to do that as I continue to talk to legislators, and senators. The things that I want to accomplish in the future, we have made great inroads into the Metropolitan Planning Organization and transportation. They have asked me, and I was able to participate in the executive committee downtown, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is the organization that determines funding from state and federal sources to be able to do roads, bridges, and that sort of thing. Made great inroads there. They even asked me if I would rewrite the bylaws, of which I did rewrite the bylaws. Took out all the woke stuff, took out all the environmental justice stuff. It was remarkable, the ground that we made. We're able to get more people from Montgomery County involved in it. So we're moving in the right direction there. In doing that, we're able to also to secure funds to do I want to complete this, an infrastructure plan that includes a countywide mobility, not thoroughfare, mobility plan of one road that runs from one side of the county to the other. And we've got those people, our partners at the Metropolitan Planning Organization gave us $1 million to do that. In 18 months, it will be done. So that is a major project. And I also want to do in this next term to leverage our relationship with TxDOT to increase our ability to get funding from state and local governments as well. Also want to finish a project that we have started. We are the only ones to do this and implement, and that is we have $11.7 million for intelligent traffic control, where every light in Montgomery County will have the ability to make changes throughout the day as traffic goes up and down through artificial intelligence, to be able to move traffic quicker, which if we could just do that and figure out how to do that could save us so much money in infrastructure that would go towards our building new roads and our expansion. So that being said, these are things that I want to accomplish, I believe can be accomplished. Most importantly is I want to keep the unity and the moving forward of our Commissioner Court. We need stability in local government for our citizens to see that we're stable, for law enforcement to see that we're stable. We don't want a repeat of what we see down south of the border, which I call south of Spring Creek, which is Harris County, and those kind of issues down there. And so far, so good. We've had a tremendous time doing it. It's been very exciting to lead the Commissioner's Court. We've had great success at it. And I'm asking you all to allow me to do it one more time. That's what I'd like to do. And my job is to re-elect the County Judge, Mark Keough.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Let me reset the timer. So now it'll be your answers will have it around 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You just talked at the end. You talked about signaling control of the lights
Yes.
to help with the traffic.
Yeah.
Wasn't Precinct 3 doing that before? Cobb, I think, was his last name. I don't
Yes.
remember his first name.
Yeah.
Now there wasn't AI around then.
No.
But I think he was programming it, and it seemed to work pretty good. And I especially like the yellow lights.
Don't you love
flashing
those?
lights,
Oh yes. Yeah.
that keep things moving. I mean, it's almost over in Europe, they have the roundabouts that keep things moving. And so, how much do you think it would take? How much money do you think it would take to do something like that? Not that it's needed everywhere. Woodlands is probably the worst as far as congestion. To do it countywide.
For that system to talk about, we've received the grant from HDAC, from TPC, Transportation Policy Council.
And how much was it?
It was $11.7 million
Okay,
that we received to do it. That will put intelligent traffic at every single light in Montgomery County. Won't at stop signs, but it will at the lights.
No, that's not a study.
That's actually doing it. We're actually doing it. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, we discovered the money. I hired a triple sharp young man named Jason Smith. I told him to master this stuff. We were going down there to downtown to work with the TxDOT and the Transportation Policy Council that has to do with the funding. We get money from the state and federal government, but nobody understood how it worked. And I told them to master what was going on with TxDOT. I want you to master. I want you to understand this. We are doing things that have never been done before in the county. Right now, we're writing advanced funding agreements for TxDOT. They get so far behind, they ask us to help. And Jason has done such a good job. It's remarkable what he's done. And if things are getting done, we've also got them to stop with these raised medians that are making everybody crazy. They said that they would stop. They finally agreed to stop. The only problem is we're in the process of in the middle of some roads that they're going to continue on until those are done, which I'm trying to fight that right now. Why? Just stop what you're doing. So the intelligent traffic design, though, I think is genius. We're the only ones to pick it up. Others now are doing it. We're the first ones that they funded to do it as well.
Okay. Thank you.
You mentioned property tax reform needed by the legislature. Why are we not seeking to abolish property taxes? We fought a war with England, and partially to do so, so that the king wouldn't own our property. The king now is our government that owns our property, so we never own our property.
For sure. Well, did you see the double nickel thing that just came out from Lieutenant Governor? and some of the property tax changes that he wants to make. Here's the difficulty, because I don't know that we'll ever be able to get rid of property taxes, Bob.
So we'll always be unconstitutional.
Well, but I think, but nonetheless, that's a state issue. It's not a county issue. I have no control over that. However, I do have control of what we do in terms of rate. I do not have control over appraisals. I went to the House of Representatives. I fought on the floor with the at that time was Dennis Bonnen, and we argued on the floor, fighting for some type of a constitutional cap on commercial on appraisals. And the issue is appraisals. The issue is not rate, because every time we come out with an exemption, we outrun the exemptions by the amount our appraisals go up. We have such a great environment here. People are moving here, and so it makes supply and demand very difficult. And a result of which is the things just keep rising. The issue is appraisals. It's not rate. When I presented two bills in the House of Representatives. The second time I did it, Cecil and Will also presented the same bill. And that was to make a change in the appraisal process and to figure out a way to, as the appraisals, they do go up, to drop the rate. Since they have dropped recently the rate to the, was it 3.25 or 3.5, that's okay, and just makes you, if you go over that, you've got to vote. But the appraisals are still driving it up, and nothing's going to change until that takes place. The person who is the architect of our tax program in the Senate has a personal business that benefits from protests that have to do with appraisals. Nobody wants to talk about that. That's a problem for me. I've talked about.
So you're saying right in court?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And the fact of the matter is he screams and yells at the counties saying we're spending too much money. Actually, we're not. We operate on a dollar cost. We are a zero-based budgeting on 60% of our budget. We do a very good job at managing our monies, and staying within the known revenue rate is our very best thing. I will tell you my contract with Montgomery County, when they asked me about taxes, I made a commitment that I would not go beyond population plus inflation. You realize that the entire time I've been in office, we've never come close to that. Never. We've always stayed way below population plus inflation. And we're able to even get below the de minimis rate this year, the middle rate in our taxes, even with the pay parity. If we hadn't been pay parity, we'd hit no new revenue rate easy.
Can I tack on?
No, it still doesn't answer my question.
I know.
Well, I'm not in a position, Bob, to determine whether or not we have taxes or not, and income, whatever the taxes be. But I will tell you this, practically speaking, someone is going to have to pay for roads. Someone's going to have to pay for bridges. Somebody's going to have to pay for maintenance on all these things. And the fact of the matter is that I think a fair and just tax is what we need. And I don't think it's fair and just.
It's not fair and it's not constitutional, so it shouldn't be.
And I'll have a side comment. You do have control over some of the appraisal districts. You've been always getting people that are kind of recommended to you, but they're not conservative, fiscal conservatives. They're just not. And so
For the board.
Yeah, until you get the board, at least get the board fiscal conservative. So you guys have been voting in, and all of you guys, non-fiscal conservatives is what I consider a problem. So, and
well,
that's
here's
my only comment.
Well, just so you know, that we get a few votes. That's all we get. Everybody else is part of this whole deal too. Where they got schools, you have all these various people that are part of the voting process. But I will tell you, the issue that still is, they're not the ones that determine this stuff. It's the state of Texas that does. You need to be talking, in my judgment, if I may, in my judgment, I think that we need to have a hard conversation with our senators. We need to have a hard conversation, which I have. And a hard conversation with our legislators on working strongly towards appraisal reform. Anyway.
Yeah, that's my only kind of comment.
Here's something else that I did, if I may, in this issue. When I was in the House of Representatives, I was very concerned about taxation without representation. How in the world can we have people on the appraisal board that are chosen by the people who are the recipients of the tax of the deal? So that's been an ongoing issue. Well, now they're elected by the people. So we did get that change.
Yeah.
So
3 out of the 9.
Yeah.
which is a
But
start.
but the whole issue of taxes is very painful. And remember, we only are in charge of 18% of the taxes. So, but when you get this thing in the mail that says the Montgomery County Appraisal District, and so we get telephone calls as the Montgomery County Appraisal District. We all know about school tax and all the rest and how that operates, but very painful. You know, I'm with you. If I, boy, she sure does. But if I could eliminate taxes, absolutely, I would.
Okay,
What else?
one of our questions, what about road bonds that we need in Montgomery County and why is that appropriate amount? And you touched on that. And for the people that will be watching this, over the years, HGAC, Houston, Galveston Area Council.
Right.
Could you give us an overview of HGAC and what part they play in getting money and how the county can participate in that, and has the county participated in that?
Yeah, absolutely, I can. First of all, historically, they haven't. The reason I think it probably is because everything's so hard to understand. That's why when I got down there, I really dug into it. The HGAC is the fiscal entity that gets the monies from the state. The Metropolitan Planning, the TPC, are the ones that make the decision. That's the powerhouse. And they don't work for the HGAC. They're an entity all on their own. Now, HGAC helps with funding for employees and whatnot with the TPC to figure out how all that goes. But the TPC are the ones who are primarily responsible for the funding of roads and bridges. Now, what I found when I got there was you had a movement towards a very woke environment. Elections have consequences. And where the scoring mechanisms that they were using for us to be able to receive monies, which involved many things, but they included things like environmental justice and multimodal transportation. They took out even the verbiage for expansion. And as I spoke to them and spent time with them, I said, look, what you guys need to understand, this is not a Houston, Harris County centric deal. You've got 13 counties involved here. And the fact of the matter is that for every person that moves into Montgomery County, that 70% of the people about move into single occupancy homes and have 2 cars. And multimodal transportation of whether or not we have transit or bikes on a road is not the issue. We need expansion. We need roads to be able to expand and move people. And for every apartment that comes in, you've got 1.5 cars that come in. And we've been able to move the needle down there and getting them to move in our direction. They came up with a plan down there that because Harris County and the city of Houston had so many people, they should get more votes. That's what they said.
Imagine that.
Yeah, could you imagine? And they came up, it was Proposition B. It was remarkable. And I sat there and I listened to this stuff, and we got really dug down right into it and spent weeks and weeks and weeks on fighting this, and finally got it turned over because city of Houston was going to get 25 votes for money to Montgomery County's 3. Well, that isn't going to work. We're an electoral system. The whole country was watching this deal. We got that thing turned over, man. And that's when they asked me to rewrite the bylaws. That was awesome. When we took all that woke stuff out of there, and that we're in the process of redoing our plan right now, and it'll be there tomorrow morning or Friday morning. And but that's pretty much how it works. The HGAC is the funding mechanism. The TPC, they're the powerhouse. They're the ones who determine where the money goes. And oh, by the way, we got Shenandoah on, we got the Woodlands on, now we have Conroe. We're well represented down there out of 29 entities. That we've got that many people on there that can help with the vote.
So part of
Yes.
the question before we jump over was, have we attended all the meetings? And if not, well, regardless, who's our representative to attend those meetings? And have they been well attended?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Since I took that deal, since I got involved, they asked me to take it over. I've missed very few. I missed HGAC this week because I had Commissioner's Court. They have it on the same day as Commissioner's Court. That is the only time that I miss.
When did you take over?
I got a few, about, I think probably 3 years ago.
Okay.
I've been doing this a while.
Before that?
It was Commissioner Riley and other people. And if I can't be there, Matt Gray is my alternate. He will always be there, and he pretty much comes anyway. We are well represented there, and you can check that out. Call them up, talk to them. We make them nervous. Matter of fact, when they want to do something, they are now even calling us. They're calling Jason. What's the judge going to say about this? What does he think about this? We've had enough impact there that Montgomery County has a definite place at the table. That's how we got that 11.7 million, John, and another $1 million just from that right there alone to be able to move forward on things. We've got lots of stuff in the works too. Also, TxDOT is meeting with us once a quarter now, and we have regular team meetings with them. And Jason Smith is really doing a fantastic job.
Okay.
So we're much more involved than anybody ever has been before.
So, Judge, are you aware of these? It may be part of what you talked about earlier, but I want to clarify these flock cameras that are being approved for the Woodlands and other parts of the county.
Yes, I am.
And how do you feel about those?
I don't feel good about that. I don't really have a choice. The deal is it's not about me. The cameras are. Let me give you a perfect example. I got a telephone call today, from an individual who's at the intersection of Grogan's Mill and Lake Woodlands. He was turning left, and as he was turning, two guys racing cars on the street hit him on both sides, ran into him, and they kept going. He contacted me this morning. He said, "Is there any cameras that are taking place to see that will be able to tell us what took place?" I said, "I'm not sure. Let me check." So I checked with my guys. There are cameras that are there to be able to determine, to be able to watch. They can just watch. They're live, but they don't record. So we have no recording of that. And I have to tell you that to me personally is a violation of our privacy to have cameras watching us nonstop. I will tell you, in the hands of the wrong people, it could be very detrimental. In the hands of the right people, I sure wish I'd have found out who that was, and they can't find these two guys that did the damage to the car. So there's trade-offs in all this.
But from a philosophical perspective, though, that's really what I'm wanting to know.
Philosophically, it's like having us giving red light tickets for people running through red lights, red light cameras. I'm totally out on that. So I don't like being watched. I like living in a free society. Period.
So you do have a pretty large bully pulpit in the county. I wish that if you really feel strongly about this, that you would let your thoughts known to other folks in the county that this is an invasion of privacy.
Well, I will tell you, as you bring that up, we have talked briefly about it, but I just became aware of the Woodlands putting in a bunch of these just recently. They made a deal with apparently the sheriff's office to be able to do that. And but I personally am not in favor of cameras that watch people.
Right, because it's liberty versus security, and back to Franklin, right? Franklin said that those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserves neither liberty nor safety.
I would fundamentally agree with that statement. I don't like being watched. I don't think it's right to watch. The problem is that not everybody operates with the virtue of most of the people in Montgomery County. So what do we do?
Well, back to
freedom isn't free.
Agreed. But back to, do we trust? Does every elected official and senior official in this county, are they really virtuous and not be able to use some of this data against certain individuals in the county?
I think I'm not arguing for them.
Right.
Okay.
I understand.
But because I agree with what you're saying. I mean, you can have a dictator and everybody's okay as long as he's benevolent. But then he decides to go south on you. That's why people have to have the ability to manage themselves. Otherwise, all you're left with is a monarchy, even a soft monarchy. And so I do not fundamentally disagree with what you're saying.
Okay.
All right. My issue here is election integrity, and I have to give you kudos for the last, was it 2 years ago?
Workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was a great first step. We got the hand ballot counting, which is not perfect, but it's better than zero.
Sure.
And so,
I got the, we know we got the whole state of Texas mad
yeah,
at us
yeah.
because the,
But then they reformatted the program, so it's a little easier now.
yeah.
So, but my question really is more around the lawsuit that Hart InterCivics has filed against the county and the Attorney General. In 24, we submitted an information request. It was granted. Um, Hart InterCivics said basically, no, we're not going to give you the database. They said we're not going to give it to you, and so now I guess they also sued the county and the state government, okay, for the Attorney General. So my point is transparency, and it just feels like the county's siding with Hart InterCivics on every turn. They're spending resources to fight it, along with with Hart, and so this database is a quick way. Instead of doing hand counts on everything or on just a small slice, this gives you everything you need. You'll see it all right there. This is the same situation that happened in Colorado with Tina Peters, if you know her. But she took the database illegally.
Sure.
And so I guess transparency wise, it just feels like the county is not being transparent, and may not be you, Judge. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is it doesn't people that keep up with election integrity know that there's an issue. So I'll let you respond to that.
Well, if you go back to when all this first came up, there was all kinds of misinformation that was going on. Matter of fact, Kristen Plaisance, yeah, she gave me a folder with all this stuff in it. And I have to tell you, I because I sat there and I listened to Joe say, if we can't get a commissioner to talk to us, how do we get this before the commissioner's court? And that's why I said, let's have a workshop. Let me have what you have. I spent a lot of time, considerable amount of time, on the election integrity issue and answering the questions that came up. And there was a bunch of misinformation. How do we choose this? Who's the ones that does the authorization of the machines? You know, all that kind of stuff. We were able to work through that. So I worked very hard at it. In terms of litigation that's going on right now, I can't comment on it because I'm not sure what is going on there and where the intention is going to go, where it's going to go. But I will say that I think that we ought to, things in a republic, everything ought to be as transparent as we can make it. Absolutely. And to be able to get to the place where we can see how things are done and why they're done a certain way. I think there's some proprietary information that's at stake here that I know that there's probably a concern about, but I'm not in favor one way or another. I'm in of them suing or not suing. I'm in favor of election integrity. I've said that all along. And I think that a free society cannot be free without election integrity. Period. Case closed in the story. So whatever we need to do to get that to take place, to do it. But again, as I'm the county, I can tell you, is not in favor of shielding. At least we're not. I'm not in favor of shielding Hart or any of these companies. But at some point, we appeal to authorities. We appeal to the state of Texas that authorized this for us. So and I think we've had a pretty good job. As I look at results and I see about where we are in the county, things seem to go pretty well in terms of our elections. Again, can we always improve? I'm sure we can. So I wish I could comment more on that.
Yeah,
but,
right.
It's kind of a
And
litigious issue.
that's what Hart does, and they delay it. They have the money, and it feels like they have all this money in cash, and they're using it, okay,
Sure.
to block transparency. And so, believe me, the election piece of the people that keep up with it, which not everybody keeps up with
Sure, I got you.
it doesn't feel right. And so I wanted to at least relay that piece.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I do, because I have a responsibility to transparency. And I have really worked very hard at that. I'm like an open book, man, probably too much at times. But I really want to do that, because if people don't feel like you're being honest with them and you're being straight with them, they won't support you.
Well, and I do compliment you for the workshop. That was a great first step.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And we'll do whatever it takes. If there are flaws in the system and we're aware of those flaws as we move forward, we'll certainly address
Thank you, Judge. I had, referring back to the survey you did for us, there's a lot of questions in it.
them. No, it's not a problem. No,
No, okay.
I
Yeah.
think they're all fair. I think it was fair.
We often get comments that it's really long, so I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
but,
No, no.
I wanted to point out one of the things that you said about, your salary level. We had a statement that says, in light of the census data showing the average MC taxpayer salaries of 40K, what salary would be appropriate for commissioners?
Right.
So I found out something new that I didn't know about you, that you had come in, that you had taken a pay cut, you had frozen your salary for the last 7 years, and that you've committed to not accept an increase in pay while you were in office.
Right.
And I think that's very commendable. I didn't know that about you, and I was very impressed by that. So, um,
Thank you.
In that context,
Yes.
we usually make it a common question to talk about our salaries that we're paying our county commissioners, our county judge, in line with what they ought to be in a normal economy. So, and I know everybody's reticent to speak about this on camera, but I'm going to ask you a conceptual question.
Sure.
I found out this last week that our county commissioners make north of 200,000 apiece.
Yes.
Probably you're around 160, I'm guessing, if my information was
159 some
good. Yeah,
change,
right in
yeah.
that range. And so I found out this week that our governor makes less than that, than the north of 200 number. He has other emoluments as well.
Yeah,
but again, he manages one of the 10 largest economies in
Sure.
the world, right? So it's a CEO position.
Of course.
So in light of that, give us your opinion on whether you think that these are in line. Have they kept pace with the way everyone else's salary in the county is going up?
Yeah.
Should we be looking closer at that? I'm just interested to know what you think about it,
Well,
without going into specifics of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, when I first ran for office, I looked at what the governor was making, and I'm going to reduce my salary to whatever the governor's making. I'll reduce it. I was coming off of $600 a month working in the state representative for 48 months and you obviously have got to have a way to go if you're going to do it. And I retired, and my wife and I decided we could do this, and we did it. And so I did reduce it and have kept it and have never increased. I'm the only one in the county that's never taken a cost of living increase or a increase in salary. I operate with my own car. I pay for my own gas. Just recently, I started keeping mileage for my campaign because I'm traveling all over this lousy county, putting out signs everywhere. So I'm traveling. I typically 10 to 14,000 miles in the campaign here in this county on my car. I pay for my own car. I don't have any perks in relationship to that. And I made a deal in my contract that I would do that. And people have asked me, they've even told me, you need to change that. I said, no, I made a deal. A deal's a deal. And so as long as I'm in this position, my position is not going to change. In terms of the commissioners, in terms of average salary, it's not out of bounds for where many of the state people get paid. I would tell you who the people that get paid that's outrageous are the people that operate the city managers of these cities. I mean, it's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. But that being said, I think you have to ask yourself, how much would a executive vice president of a $440 million corporation make? Not even executive, just one of many vice presidents. $1.5 million, $2 million plus stock options. So when you really think about the work that's done in terms of compared to the private sector, it really is not outrageous. I thought it when I first got in. I didn't push them to do it. I just wanted to be the example, and that's kind of where I've been. As a matter of fact, I recently, in this pay parity, I was for the state because of my educational background. I should have got like a $7,000 or $10,000 bump in my salary. I tried to give it to Jason Smith, and they fought me on it. And so I backed up, and they said they wanted me to take it, and I told them no. And they asked why. I said, because I made a deal with people in Montgomery County. So I forego what was issued to me to be able to have from the state of Texas. We all need money. Can you have enough money? And so from that perspective, it's at times I think, I could be making more money, but that's not why I'm in this. It's public service. I'm not trying to be noble here. Honestly, this is what I really believe. I believe this at this time in my life. It's the greatest honor of my life to do this. We've had great success at what we've done in fighting and standing up for the people. And if that's the deal I made, then I stick by my deal. Let's go.
I just want to plug in. You mentioned it's a public service. I worked under a one-star general. We had 4,500 people that were under his command. We had billions of dollars of aircraft that were under his command. And he still made less than $200,000 a year. And they're capped. That's a one-star.
Yeah.
Go up to a four-star and they don't change that much either.
Sure.
And they're doing a whole lot more with a whole lot less because they're serving our country. And we can't compare a service industry, a government service, with a corporation.
Well, there is a difference, though, Bob, is that is not an elected position. You realize what it takes to run an election like I'm running right now, and to run in the effort, the mental anguish, just all the stuff you got to go through. I mean, it's unbelievable. So there is something to be said for that. And for me, I do it because I want to do it. I'm honored to do it. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it for the power. And, from that perspective, but there is a tremendous amount of things that go on in you know this, things that go on in any precinct that some do better than others. Some, I think, are doing a great job. Some do not so good a job. Some are easy to get along with. Some are not easy to get along with. And there's a lot of strings that are being pulled in all different directions. And at the end of the day, it's difficult to really put a price on it. But I don't know that one-star general is a fair comparison to this. Something about a one-star general he has, Bob. People do exactly what he tells them to do, and he doesn't have to deal with individuals in the culture or in that live down the street or live in the community that put together groups that are constantly pushing against what he does. So, but I agree that service, you choose to serve, you're not going to get paid what you might get paid in the private sector. That was difficult to determine what we should do when Mayor Whitmire came out and gave all his guys a raise down there when they have 1,200 vacancies, and there's the equity, the parity between was so astronomical. We can't lose our law enforcement, so we do have to step up in terms of that as well. There's a lot of things involved in it. But again, I'm sure I'd like to see them get paid less. I don't think that their pay is outrageous though for what they do.
Yeah, if I'm in law enforcement, I'd much rather work up here than down there.
Yeah.
And anybody
Oh yeah.
Worked in the corporate world and I work downtown, you expect more money. Law enforcement's a little different issue, but they got a different animal to contend with down there. But still, if you're working downtown in corporate, you're having to spend time drive down there. Up here,
Sure. No, I used that argument when I was kind of pushing back on it.
Yeah. The zero. So, question: do you support using zero-based budgeting practices? And you said yeah, and you said that those techniques are used on more than 60% of our expenses in a county. Why not 100%?
Because you have stuff that is already in place that we can't go back to zero. Like
contracts,
pay parity issues with law enforcement. You got step plans that they're automatically starting. It ain't zero. We're not going back to zero here. Right. That kind of stuff. But most of it we're I would say most, but about 60%. And that's what I was told by my accounting people. But we're always looking at it. I will tell you, we look at it much harder than what they've ever looked at here before since I've been involved. I can tell you, and we're always making adjustments and deciding what we should do in terms of pay, sticking to our budget, trying very hard to stick to our budget. Things come up along the way, obviously, that we don't have any control over, that we go to contingency. And our credit rating is second to none. We're AAA credit rated, and we've working very hard at keeping that, keeping the right amount of reserve in place. Too much reserve tells me that we've got too much taxes laying around. And so you don't want to have that. And so we're well below some of these counties in terms of how we have the reserve, for another topic for another day. But that being said, yes.
With the road bonds, I know in the past, I haven't followed this last one completely. Um, the commissioners had to come up with roads that needed to be done, what they were going to do, how much money needed to be spent, and so on. Um, in the past, there's there's never been anybody that I know of that's that's held them to fixing the roads they said they were going to fix, nor spending the money they said they were going to spend. Is there anything in place now to anybody that oversees the commissioners spending on projects and the completion of projects that were voted upon by the taxpayers to be completed?
Yeah.
There is. Who does that?
Me.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, this road bond was a long time coming. And I have to tell you, there was numbers they threw, we need $1 billion right now today to do this. Well, we're not, how are we going to do that without increasing taxes? We can't. And so taxes became a big issue. But I can tell you, we have put together a plan where we will have so much money spent on these projects, and we deviate from that, then the questions start getting asked. Now, again, I'm one of 5 votes, as you know. When you're knocking on doors, people they'll say to you, do something about this commissioner, about that commissioner, whatever. I just kind of chuckle. They have broad spheres of authority. And so you operate within that. But I have to tell you, my team has done a very good job at capturing I don't want to say loyalty, but the attention of our commissioners. Never before has this taken place where we're helping them to get done what they need to do in these areas because they just don't have the knowledge to work with TxDOT and all these various things. And we have adapted to that and now are working very closely with TxDOT and with these road projects to make sure that they get done in the right manner. What's really interesting is we've even gotten some federal funds. Dan Crenshaw has helped in East County through Matt Gray to secure, I don't know, probably $60 million towards roads out there. And we have also gone through the process of recategorizing roads so that we can get federal monies. There's all kinds of stuff that's going on. Point is, though, is that this is what we said we were going to do for the people. This is what we put in writing. This is what they expect. And anything less is unacceptable.
It's been unacceptable for years in the past.
Well, here's what happened. But here's the deal. I was not involved in that, as you know. Last road bond was 2015. Clark did not spend the money the way he should have spent it, but he got sick. So we'll give him a little bit of a pass on that. And then when Metz got in there, he didn't do what he was supposed to. Everybody else had their money spent. We're still sitting on money over there in Precinct 4. And my question was, wait a second. We haven't even spent the money from the 2015 road bond. We're going to go to the people now and ask for it? We immediately took that money and distributed that to projects that could be done and that were completed. And we took it basically and moved it around, had to, in order to be able to benefit the county. But you've got 4 commissioners right now. Matt Gray has been a tremendous addition, I think, to East County and staying on top of business and pushing hard and keeping people accountable. And yet he will listen. He listens. He comes and asks questions. How do we do this? And they all do. Even Commissioner Riley, who has got the longest tenure, is working extremely well with Jason Smith to get things done that he needs to get done. And when he's not getting them done right, Jason gets right back in his face. Says, no, we can't do it that way. This is how we do it. You want to get it done? This is what we do. And we've won their confidence. And it's taken a pretty good amount of time to do that. But I have to tell you, it's going so well in terms of where we're headed in our transportation. I'm excited about it, and I believe we have a great opportunity in the next few years as we move forward.
Along that same line, that's not, I've got another question after that.
Yeah.
Along that same line, it wasn't just a few years ago, I can't recall when, but the Commissioners Court got X number of dollars and they divided it equally between.
We just did that.
Okay. Explain that a little bit.
Okay, it's a great question.
It's done in 15.
Yeah, it was we have a $480 million road bond. We gave everybody $120 million. We need $1 billion worth of work. However you divide it up, every section of the county needs more than $120 million. So the 120 million to each area isn't going to cover the things that need to be fixed. And so what we did was we divided it equally. Number one, you've got to get the people to vote in favor of something. If we gave the Woodlands 50 million and spread the money to everywhere else, the greatest voting bloc in the county would not vote in favor of that. You have to remember we're county centric. Everybody's got to work together. But more importantly, you got $1 billion plus worth of work that has got to get done. And however we divide it, I mean, every one of them is going to take the 120 million. Because we questioned this, we thought about that. How do we go about doing that? Can some get it done faster than others? I think, yeah. I think Charlie Riley's moving very fast on his first tranche of money. And we're coming up in the near future here to do another offering for the second tranche of money. And the object here is if we can get it done, and as our growth continues, somewhere between 4 and 5 years, we can have another road bond, while at the same time benefiting and not impacting our taxes because of our growth. And that's kind of what we have to manage. And you got to dance with it, man.
Now, my main question is, one of our questions on our questionnaire, would you support an independent expert group outside the Commissioner's office to score and award engineering designs to the most qualified firm? Your answer was yes.
Absolutely, I would.
And I think this kind of goes along with that. I think there's been a committee that has done that, evaluating the different things. I wouldn't want to mention it.
It pretty much is at each of the commissioners has a broad sphere of authority. And when we have things that are not sole source, we've got to source those things out to the best person for the job. And we do that. There's no question. And if it's sole source, then we can make the choice on one person, just do it because nobody else offers that service. I think that having an independent group to oversee the bidding and whatnot, I think is excellent. But our purchasing and our commissioners are the ones that basically do it now, and it comes to court. So we all have to make a decision on it. I recently had a situation in this county-wide mobility plan that we're working on with $1 million down at HJC. It's a great example of this. Various people came up with different people that they wanted to use. And I brought up the issue of, well, hang on a second. We need to drill down on this a little bit because we need to have an independent group of people that is looking at this. And that's what we developed at HJC. And they put together this team. That was elected officials, people that were involved from the TAC and whatnot. But the people that I really felt like needed to do the job that we wanted, turns out they weren't the right ones to do it. And so we automatically have our biases. And the only reason I wanted to use them is because they had done such a good job in a couple other areas for us. But again, we put that up to a group of people, an independent group that made the decision. They did the evaluation, they did the scoring. Boom, these are people, and that's who's doing it. I'm very excited about it. Freeze and Nichols is the one we chose.
So let's talk about those for a minute.
Yeah.
Remember the Republican Party met with you and some of your staff on Doge.
Yeah.
And I guess as of right now, we're still waiting as the Doge committee on some of that data. It has not come back to us that we asked for. So can you give us an update on kind of where we are on being able to share some of that data with the Republican Party?
Which specific data are you talking about?
Well, during the meeting, it was discussed that basically it's going to be broken down by each department, and we were going to get it in Excel format, is what we talked about. That it could be sliced and diced and looked at and then easily compared, against other standards. But we still have not received that as a Republican Party.
Well, I have to be honest with you, I have to go back and rethink that, not rethink whether or not we should do it. I have no problem with the transparency associated with it at all. In terms of going about getting that done, I need to rethink that because if we agree to do it, then we'll do it. The deal with Doge, first of all, is just so that there's no question. The issue came up, of course, when Elon Musk was doing his deal. Obviously, it became very hot button.
Mhm.
And I said, it came up in court that we wanted to Doge our departments. And I said, well, why just the departments? My deal was, matter of fact, they made a motion, and I made it I added to the motion that I think that it should be not just departments, but it should be all the commissioners' departments as well. The whole budget should be looked at.
I think there were, so the goals of the Doge, right?
Yeah.
That we were asking for when we met was headcount for each department, and then how much they made, and then it would be easily comparable with, is it overstaffed? Is it understaffed? Are they underpaid? Are they overpaid? So that there could be a comparison made.
There is well, and then the question is, and that's a judgment call, whether they're underpaid or overpaid or whatever.
Mhm.
What I do not want to do is I don't want to add any more government.
Mhm.
I don't. You have elected officials in charge of doing these things that they do a great job of what we do in my judgment. And if they're not doing a good enough job, we all have this thing called the vote, as you know. But I think I'm not anti-transparency, but at the same time, Ken, I think that there's so much available right now that's not being looked at. I look at when I go to commissioner's court, I look at all the government codes that each of these things according to various different government codes, and you can trace those things from the commissioner's court right to our website. You can look at every expenditure that's made and everything that we do. And if there's any studies that have to do with salary studies, we can certainly make those available because that is a study that is not easy to do. And it's not easy to get just salaries alone. It is not easy to get other entities to share that stuff with us. They just don't do it. And what they share with the state is not always the case. But we do salary studies for sure. And we are doing evaluations. Remember we talked about the whole evaluation process and continuing with that, and are working in that direction and looking harder at each of our departments. I think directly as a result of our Doge meeting. But for them to get into the weeds and get deep into it, there's information that is so there, is so much there right now through our website and with what we do in commissioner's court. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. It was agreed though that we were going to directly share that. You weren't going to make us run around the website and search all this, and we were going to partner to move this forward and work together on this.
Well, I would have to go back and rethink that have agreed to do that. I know we talked about it. I'm not saying we didn't agree, so don't misunderstand, but I got to get my head around that because you're talking about a whole another animal of putting things. It's like a giant open records request. When the stuff that's available in open records requests are expensive and long and hard,
Well,
but you have the ability to look at things. Just you have that ability right now. I mean, I don't know what a CAFR. One of our annual. If you looked at our annual reports and what we do for the county, that pretty much says it all right there. Now it doesn't do comparison to other counties.
Well, what we were hoping to do is, and one of our tech guys broke it down by tabs, but we couldn't sum it up, and that's what we wanted the ability to do.
Well,
Do some subtotals within each Excel
Right.
tab so that we could compare, with Sister County of Williamson and maybe other.
Here's my
counties.
question
We
to you
never know.
about that. Are they going to give you that information? What
Exactly.
what is going to be your basis of comparison with
Get
them?
it, get it from Montgomery County first, then we go to them and say, hey, we would like to compare, those costs.
Okay, because I can tell you, I'm much more pliable. I'm much more willing to work with y'all than any of those guys are. So good luck with that, getting them to do what you want them to do. But that being said, I will recommit them to help you do this. I will.
Okay.
I said I would do it, and I will do it. So let's
So
just
one-
figure out a way.
One more point to that, you had mentioned, that was brought up in court, and we had the idea for that, and, that's where we got our idea. I'm
You mean
sorry.
the
That was
Doge?
Matt Gray, yeah.
Yeah.
Who voted against that? 'Cause you want to do the whole thing.
Well, here's what we did: is when I made the motion to do everything, and it died for lack of a second.
Hmm.
So then I went to the first motion, and Matt says, "We have a motion to approve." Da, da, da. He said, "Yes." I said I will second it, and then the other three voted against it: Charlie Walker and um, Rich Wheeler.
Okay. All right, thanks, Bruce. We got about,
I figured
few
departments
minutes.
is better than nothing.
You hear what?
I figured departments is better than nothing.
okay, Louis, last question.
I think I'm more, in the county, the way kind of things drive is there's a lot of contracts for contractors, and if I did an information request, not on you
Yeah.
necessarily, but one of the commissioners, you'd see all these people donating, or you see all these people doing work for the county.
Sure.
And then you'd see conversely the donations.
Sure.
And there's a direct correlation. Okay, I'm not saying, what I'm saying is, unfortunately, that's almost the way things are today, because to get elected, it takes a fair amount of resources.
It does.
However, I just feel like at some point it becomes too, it's just not a clear line anymore. Okay, and I'm not saying you or any other
Sure.
county employee, but what I am saying is that it does happen, and I wanted to know what your thoughts are, and can we ever really address that? Because really,
It's difficult. It's kind of like you've seen the scene in Howard Hughes, where he's there and he's taking heat from the senator. And they said, "Is it true that you entertained these generals and these people in charge with various things?" He said, "Absolutely." He said, and he basically asked the question, "Well, isn't that kind of like basically taking a bribe?" And he said, "Yeah." Everybody was shocked. He said, "When you come up with a different program, it's your rules. If you guys put this in place, come up with a different program, we won't operate that way. We're not doing anything illegal. I can tell you, and everything has to go through purchasing. And I'm telling you, we report every lobbyist that comes to my office. That's part of my ethics policy that we put in place. Is that you're going to do business with us. Number one, are you a lobbyist? Number two, are you registered? And number three, after we do, what did you talk about? And it's subject to screening. So I very rarely even talk to a lobbyist. I don't have time for that. But the difficulty is that it's kind of self-perpetuating. I think that I don't think that, at least it's not my experience, anybody gives me anything to use them if I've never used them. But if I'm already doing business with them, and again, I don't have any say in these various, I signed the contracts, but I'm just one of a bunch of votes. They certainly support people and will support commissioners, especially as they need to get reelected, and they're using them. That's just practical, and it's not illegal. I will tell you this, though. When I was in the House of Representatives, my consultant, Luke Macias, took me around to these various lobby groups for me purely to get money from them. That's what it really was. They're going to give me this check, it's got to give me this check. So while I'm in human services, I get a bill comes to us. And if you know about the legislature, if you get a unanimous vote, it can go to local and consent. It doesn't have to go to the floor to be argued. Well, this one bill came where this gal with a particular company, she came to me or they put up a vote and they wanted to be able to put high powered energy drinks, Pepsi, there was a Pepsi bill, high-powered energy drinks on snap cards. And it was in human services, and there's about 13 of us on the committee, just going right down the line. Yes, 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 yes. Comes to me, no. Nay, I was the only one, no. So much so that Raymond looked over at me. He said, Judge, he didn't say judge. He said, Representative, what's the deal? What's the question? I'm not going to vote for that. I can't vote for that. He takes a second vote. Come on, man, we need to do this again. I said, no. The gal was in, her name was Sarah. She comes to me afterwards, how come you didn't do this? I said, you know better than that. You know that based upon what you know about me, I would never vote to create some kind of entitlement for these individuals and help Pepsi just so they can sell more things and put something on there that they really don't need. So watch this. It gets to the floor. Now they got to argue on the floor. They're mad at me, man. And she comes up to me and she's representative. I really need you to support this. I need you to support this. Pepsi's really on me to get it done. And I told her, I said, I can't do that. You know better than that. I would never do that. The owner of the lobby company is walking down the hall. And they had given me, I forgot, I don't know, a small amount of money, but they had given me some. I don't quite remember. But I saw him and I walked up to him and I said, such and such. I said, I want you to know that I like doing business with people who support me, and I like to support people who want to help me any way that I can. I said, but on this bill, I just want you to know it's going to hit the floor. I cannot vote in favor of it. You know what he said to me? Keough, you got a lot of class. That's what he said. You don't have to take these things. You don't have to take these resources. And, you know, it's the romance of the whole deal is how do you get elected in this position without having financial resources? I'll tell you how I did it. I started out. I sat down with my wife. I said, Kim, I'd like to make, we need to decide how much money. You come up with it. We'll decide and let's agree on how much money we're going to put into this campaign. My first campaign, we decided we were going to take $100,000 of our savings and do it. That was our seed money. So Lucille comes to me, a first $55,000 check, my treasurer, she says, now, let me ask you a question. Do you want, was going to put it in this, you want to turn this into a loan? Or do you want to do a contribution? I said, I beg your pardon, a loan? I'll take the loan. I still owe myself $125,000 in my campaign. Now, I've raised a bunch of money that time and I spend it, but that money I've not taken, I've taken some back out. I take that back. I've taken some out and I was up to 300,000 at one time and I took some of that out. I took that back, but I'm still over 120 or so, something like that.
So quick one more question before we
Yes,
finish up.
yeah.
Will you agree to abstain from giving taxpayer funds to nonprofits? Abstain. You said no.
Yep,
Why
correct. Here's why,
not?
because
Don't you think it's up to the taxpayers where their money goes?
well, I wish it was, but the fact of the matter is you have some state requirements here that are involved as well. We're required to be involved at a state level from the state with indigent care, with child protective services, those kind of things. And for $50,000 a year in child protective services, I could not touch that for under $500,000 of county money. So I have a public-private partnership with some of these, but we try and keep those specifically to the areas that we know that we're required. Plus, guys, I will say something for this. I believe we are a virtuous community. And if the churches were doing what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And if I just spent a bunch of time with Angel Reach the other day, and these kids that are aging out of CPS, but they take no money from anybody. It's amazing. They get it from outside sources, and we don't fund them at all. But there are some requirements that we can do with public-private partnerships, I think, that are a whole lot less expensive than what it takes for us if we had to put it up ourselves.
And I just had one follow-up
Yes.
from our, if we had Doge, okay, a true Doge, we could help with that whole issue, okay, to build confidence. So
Which coalition?
if we had a Doge program where we could go in and look at the records and see, like,
But here's the thing, you can look at the records. Nobody's
Well,
keeping
it's
us looking at
PDFs, you can't do a real good comparison. You really need an electronic format like Excel or a database. Without that, it's virtually impossible to do, at least the way I've seen them done.
Well, I want to help you do this.
Okay,
Okay,
that's,
so I want you to know that. I don't know how to go about helping you right now, but I want to help you to be able to do that. And so to really figure out something that would do that and can make us more transparent. We're not trying to hide anything here. We want all the help we can get. I really do believe that.
well, and that was my only follow-up to
yeah.
that, because
Now, here's another thing, whether I get everybody else to agree with it on the board is another deal.
Well, part of it too is we want to work together. We don't want to just
Yeah.
throw the tennis ball over the net and then we look at it. We want to work together and not toss the ball back and
Right.
forth. We want to work together on it.
all right,
That's part
thank
of the
you.
deal.
I think that this was demonstrated with all of us together on the election integrity deal. When we had that conversation and we're willing to get together and have a workshop and talk about this and how to go about doing this.
Election integrity was a start, but I'm telling you that
Yeah.
without the database, you can't do an overall evaluation.
After we're done, let's talk more. If we can, let's talk more about that.
Okay, we're at a point now, if you want to take up to 5 minutes in closing.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it up.
Gentlemen, thank you, and ladies, thank you for the opportunity to be able to do this and to come and share. And I can sense from your heart that you guys are sincere. You don't have any agenda here, and I really appreciate that. I hope you feel the same way about me. I take what I do very seriously. I love what I do. It's the greatest honor of my life to do it, and I'm really working very hard at being a servant to the community. I've demonstrated this in numerous ways, not just in the things that we've talked about. But I have to tell you, since I've been in office, we've had almost, I want to say 13 natural disasters, 7 of which are declared. Every single one of those, man, we have been right up front fighting and working and have put together in place an Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security that is second to none in the state of Texas. They're using us and coming to us and looking at us. And TDM is coming to us, Texas Department of Emergency Management, and the equipment that we've been able to secure and the way that my team has gone and has met the grants that we've been able to pursue and fight for and get to be able to help our community. That team was recently asked by the State Department, by Marco Rubio's people, to go to Qatar. My team was the only county out of 3,500 counties that were looked at, 3,500 counties. It came down to 3 and they chose us because we do so well in mass casualty disaster type things, have the equipment to do it. We have the constant practices to it. We have put in place an active shooter training center for this out in East County about the state of Texas that now is required training by the state of Texas. I have personally fought with multi-billion-dollar corporations to benefit Montgomery County with the recent hurricane, with the Burrow situation, and with CenterPoint Energy and taking them to task. And why is it that every single day I get a report Montgomery County is the lowest, yet we are your 3rd largest that you provide for, and we are the lowest in terms of getting some type of satisfaction and things done. I fought them online. I went to the Texas Senate to fight them. I don't know anybody else that would do that. They didn't even talk about it. My team was out there doing it. This recent fire that took place in San Jacinto, there's a fire over 2,000 acres in a pine plantation that was dry weather, wind, all of a sudden it went up. My team was first on the spot. We set up the command center. And by the time I got there to do the conversations with all the press, they're waiting for me. We practiced this. And I was there. I went right up to the Weather Service. What's going on? I talked to each of these guys individually. The Weather Service, the Forestry Service, Texas A&M was there. The constables, the Department of Public Safety, the Sheriff's Office, the Texas AgriLife. All these guys were there participating in what my department, had set up to move forward. Not lose one home. We saved 900 homes. And we worked through the process of evacuating people and learned immediately, a long time ago, that we were able to tell them, these people won't leave unless you can do something with their animals. If you take care of their animals, they'll leave. We got these people out. You should see, we got video of the sheriff's office chasing these horses across the field and land, putting them into these deals. This is the kind of stuff that we do. Not to mention the work that we have done down in Houston, and getting them to push away from this nonsensical DEI, these type of grading mechanisms for getting resources that include environmental justice and social justice and all this stuff that has nothing to do with roads and bridges. We need expansion. This would not be happening, I can tell you unequivocally, had I not taken the bull by the horns and gone and done it. It was not done by the previous guys. They did not want to do it. They didn't understand it, and we have done it. And so we've had tremendous success in these areas as we have moved forward. And I'm very excited about the opportunity, about what has taken place. And most recently, as I took on the city of Conroe and the water situation that happened up in Willis. It was unbelievable. And without going into all the details, as soon as I started asking questions, they turned the water off, they put a chain on it. I came this close to calling the Texas Rangers. I got with the right people. We pushed forward. I even went and I stumped in their city council meeting. And Jason, he came up with a great hat, make Conroe great again. I wore it right there with him and went there and took them on. Nobody else would have done that. I don't know what they're afraid of, but this is what you do for the people when you stand for the people. I'm very serious about this. I believe that I have earned the right to be able to continue to move forward in this. I've not done everything right, but I've made a great effort to do things right. And I plan to continue to do that. I'm excited about winning this term. I believe I'm going to win it soundly. And I'm taking all the steps to do so. I would appreciate your endorsement very, very much. Thank you.
What's your website?
Thank you very much for coming in, for filling out the questionnaire, and good luck in your campaign.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. It's been my pleasure. All right. And to be, oh,
What's your website?
forgive me.
Oh, it's off. Are you off? Website.
Website?
Your election.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you go to my website, markkeough.org. It's real simple, markkeough.org. Okay. Keough, Mark Keough, Keough.